T. Clark here with the 2017 AP Computer Science A FRQ 4B. So 4B says, write a static method get successor array that returns a 2D successor array of positions created from a given 2D integer array. So what does successor mean? It means it's an integer value. The successor of an integer value is an integer that is 1 greater than the value. So if I have an 8, the successor is 9. And the 2D successor array will show the position of successor of each element in a given 2D integer array. That's a lot. Just those two sentences is a lot. And I'll use examples in a second. So the 2D successor array has the same dimensions as a given 2D integer array. So if I look at the given integer array and the successor array, they're both 3 by 4. 3 by 4. The largest element in the 2D integer array, each element in the 2D successor array is a position, row and column, of the corresponding 2D integer array element successors. The largest element in the 2D integer array does not have a successor, so the largest element is the 16. There's no 17, so it'll be a null. So here's an example diagram I'm talking about already. So look at 8 and 9. 8, the successor for 9 is in this position right here, 0, 2. So the successor array would have the position value 0, 2. So another one, if I try this 15, the successor for 15 is 16, and that's position 1, 1. So the 1, 1 goes where the 15 is. I'll just try another one, that's 6, okay? The 6, the next number is 7 underneath, so the 6 would get where 7 is, 2, 3. So the 7 is in spot 2, 3. Okay, so I'm still able to use positions. I have the find position method we created in 4A, and even if we created it wrong or if we leave it blank for some reason, we can assume that it works as it's supposed to. So no matter what, we want to use find position as if it's working perfectly. And that's what it says at the top of this page. It says assume find position works as specified, regardless of what you wrote or left blank, hopefully not. But you must use, it says you must use find position to get full credit. Otherwise, it's 1 or 2 points off. Even if you have all the perfect code, you must use this method to get the full credit. So I'm going to complete get successor array. I have it set up over in my replit on the right. I'll keep this up here so I can reference it as I work. And first thing I know is that the 2D successor array has the same dimensions. I also know it's a position, so I know it has to return this. So I'm just going to copy this, or I'll write it out, but it'll be a position 2D matrix. And I like calling it result, so I'll say position matrix result is going to be a new position matrix. So it's a matrix. And then what are the dimensions? The dimensions are the same as the integer array. So it'll be int r.length, so it's the number of rows, and then int r bracket 0 dot length, that's the number of columns. And it's so long, I ran out of space. So my result matrix has the same dimensions, same number of rows, same number of columns as the parameter one. Okay, so I set up my result. Now I have to create each entry. So to create each entry, I'm going to loop through I could loop through either one, the result or the int array, but I always like going through the original one. So I'm going to say int r equals 0, r less than int r dot length, number of rows, r plus plus. So I'm looping through the number of rows, and the same thing for columns, but with a C. And of course, int r bracket 0 dot length, number of rows or number of columns is with this 0. Okay, and before I forget, and actually when I write it out, I always like to return at the end. So I write at the bottom of my page, return results, because sometimes I forget myself. And also when I'm practicing coding, I like to have this so it doesn't give me errors if I actually ran it, which I'm not going to do, but just so I don't forget, I have to return results. Okay, so I need to find the position. So I have a current element. So current element, but I want to find the next element's position. So I'm going to set up a temp variable, and I like using space, so this is how I do it. So I'm going to say the temporary temp, or the temporary position, is going to be the result of the find position of the next element. So the current element, int r, bracket r, bracket c, plus 1, comma, and if I look at my find position, I need a number and the integer array. So I'll just pass along int r. If I can type. So there we go. So what this does is this takes the current number. So again, let's say we're with the 8. It adds 1 to that to get the 9. So at 8 plus 1 is 9. And that position would be that 0, 2. And so that creates the find position. And I set it up as a temporary position. And then I know you can do it on one line, but I always like, that's just my personal preference. And I say the current result gets that position, that temporary position in this case. And I have the return at the bottom, so I'm done. So again, I set up the dimensions, set up the result as a position array matrix, 2D array, with the same number of rows, same number of columns as my parameter. I loop through the rows, I loop through the columns with that bracket 0. I'm saying find the position of the current number plus 1. So 8 plus 1, 9. So find the position of the 9 using the same int array. I just pass that along. And this will give me a position, which I just store in temp. And I can just store it as a result RC. Actually, that's what I'll do. It might be better just to say result RC. That looks better, honestly. So sometimes my habits aren't the best, but it gets the job done. So that's my 2017 AP Computer Science A FRQ Part 4, and that's, or Part 4B, and that's it for this one.